Hey guys.
Well, as you can see, we've got a little bit different lineup tonight. We're going to have other people. We've got Dwayne, Jamie, and John are all on board to join us as panelists so that they can learn the mind models here right from the start and join in. And we've got other people like Marilyn and Shelley that are hanging out there learning it as well. And just to share with you, if you guys jump on early at 7, and we'll take a minute or two to get going. But we're going to be trying a slightly different format right now. And that format is promoting individuals that want to come on into panelist mode so that they have a mic and they can share and all of that sort of thing and learn the mind models with us. So it's going to be an exciting time. And we're going to take a look at how all of that stuff works and how the mind models actually can be applied in their lives specifically so that they get a real world experience of it, not just a theoretical one that I'd be, it's not exactly theoretical, but it's not exactly spot on for them either. So just sharing that teaching the mind models this way is going to make it a little bit more effective for people. So that, at least that's the hope with this. And it's normally the way that I do operate. So just sharing with that. I'm just getting my iPad up and going and everything good to go here. And we're basically almost ready. So the mind model tonight, the mind model tonight is 3 magic words. And then the follow-up piece was, um, geez, I got
Question
to
progression.
thank you. Question progression. I have a brain freeze on that one. The mind model of question
Don't,
progression.
don't worry, guys. He still knows the mind model. He just needs a prompt and he's good to go.
I'm a little guy here. No, I just brain freeze. That's it. Sorry. Anyway, so guys, how are you guys doing tonight? I think what we might do is just start with quick introductions with everybody, so that you can share with the people out there on Facebook and the rest of the attendees here what's going on. So just warning you all that if you're on early or on time, when we open up the show to start off with, just before we go live on Facebook, we select panelists and see who's ever here. If they want to learn the mind models, that's just a new little thing. So jump on, sign up, get on the Zoom one, and you can have me coaching you in real time. Anyway, Dwayne, do you want to introduce yourself to everybody,
Hi,
please?
Dwayne Jenkins. I live on the Gulf Coast of Texas, right on the water. Um, Met Blair in June in Las Vegas at No Excuses. Fell in love with mind models and have been stalking him ever since.
Another stalker. Oh my God. That reminds me of Tyler. Tyler was is one of my longtime students, and he wound up sharing on one of my interviews I wound up doing with him. And he shared the fact that he wanted to stalk me and was trying to figure out a way how to move back to Edmonton. He's from Edmonton, born here, not really raised here, but born here. And the weird thing was is that he wanted to figure out how to live in my basement. That's what he was trying to do, so he could learn these mind models and do what his friend Earl wound up doing. And Earl was on in an earlier webinar, and have the success that he had. And sure enough, Tyler had the same kind of success that Earl did, and he went from 400,000 gross revenue to 2 million in 12 months, roughly. So, but you've got to have the right business model. It's not guaranteed by any stretch of the imagination, but it definitely is possible because you've got both Earl and Tyler making 7 figures in, well, under 18 months for both of them combined all together. Each of them did it. Anyway, Dwayne, glad you joined the show. And Jamie, do you want to share a little bit about you, where you're from and how you know me and that sort of thing?
Jamie Allen and I live in Fredericksburg, Virginia. Nice. We also met at NES 9 in June and ran into each other in the elevator. I was an international speaker at one time and trainer and dealt a lot in mindset. And so when I heard you on stage talking about mind models, it made so much sense to me, because a lot of people would ask me, so how do you have that awesome mindset? And I really didn't know how to explain that. And so when you started talking, I was like, that's how I could explain it. Now I can figure out how I have it as well as get more of it, and would love to be one of yours that you teach how to teach others as well. So,
super.
Yeah,
good.
So
well, we got to talk more about that, because that's definitely a possibility.
Yeah, would love
Very strong one. Yeah. Well, thanks for putting that out there. Super. Glad you're on the show. Super. John, can you share your thoughts?
Sure.
And introduce yourself.
Sure. You can hear me, right?
Oh, yeah. Super.
All right. So I'm John Cooter, and I'm down in Tampa, Florida. My wife, Connie, and I were at the NES 9 meeting also and heard you speak. And we were very impressed. Came home and started listening to the Tuesday night webinars that we're doing right now, and also purchased your course. And haven't been able to spend as much time daily with that course as I originally planned to. Lots of other things have come up in the meantime, but the mind models are, I think of them kind of as infectious. We just took a trip to Atlanta, and we were listening to the MP3s as we were driving. And, it's hard, once you grasp one of these mind models, it's hard not to apply it.
I love that, because that's, you know what? I spent a lot of time and energy refining mind models so that they were what I called sticky behaviors. And they are designed in such a way and intended to be in such a way that it's almost what you do, and mostly what you do subconsciously already, so that it's relatively easy to learn. And once they slip past your internal filters, you've got them, because most people will have most of the background pieces, the behavior patterns already learned subconsciously. And boom, you've got it, because you actually, I'll just pick on evaluation versus judgment. And it's going to be the same thing with 3 magic words tonight and question progression. These are going to be natural things, but they're not naturally named. We just do these behaviors. And evaluation, judgment versus evaluation mind model, everybody knows what a judgment is, and generally they don't like being judged. And they don't mind being evaluated. Sometimes they're concerned that people are going to evaluate them, who are going to evaluate them, are actually going to judge them. Sometimes they flip it around, they create a problem for themselves. Most of the time they don't. Pardon me, I think I've got the hiccups here. I hope I don't. Pardon me, one quick sip here. Okay, so bottom line here is mind models are, as I said, designed to sort of slip into you in a way that makes them easy to learn, fast to learn, and sticky, easy to keep on bringing back and back and back in your life. And you may not, the funny thing is, you may not find it right in the moment, the leading edge of that moment where you need to use them. But if you give them like 2 to 5 seconds to sink in, and if you spend a little bit of time practicing them, they will jump in within seconds of you coming into a situation where that mind model is going to be true for you. and then they habituate. And as they habituate, they turn into habit patterns. That's what habituate means. And as they habituate, they become more and more dominant, and they just seem to progressively invade your mind and cause you to let them stick. Do they always stick? No. But the point here was not to have things perfect. The things that I wanted to do was make them effective so that they could get into your mind quickly, easily, and be recalled quickly and easily. And if they didn't come back quickly and easily to start off with, that's okay. It just takes more practice of applying them, and practice makes perfect. And we're not going after perfection, where practice makes effective at the end of the day. So effective things become sticky, and they just become easier to actually use the mind models than not, because you'll get out of trouble faster, and it doesn't stop you from necessarily getting into trouble all the time, but they does help you get out of trouble and think your way through. And eventually it gets you to avoiding the trouble altogether, because when you actually habituate that mind model, you're not triggered by the trouble, you're triggered by the opportunity that mind models create. And that is powerful. When you get there and you start using it, that's where real major life changes starts happening. That's where, well, if you get the course Rewiring Your Mind for Wealth, that was what the course that John was talking about. You start applying that the mind models in that course, and all of a sudden you start looking at your business and you start evaluating it differently. And when you start evaluating it and you start testing for simple things like profitability and whatnot, you don't make the assumption that it's going to be profitable, because that's not an evaluation, that's a judgment. What you look at is what it is and what's your plan. And you start going, oh, I know how to ask myself questions about this and get myself a strong plan. And as you were sharing, Jamie, earlier, you had a great mindset. And so many people that I've met, I mean, some of them are professional hockey players. I had one guy from the NHL come in. Not so many of them are professional hockey players. I had one guy that was a professional hockey player come in and take a course, and he had a great mindset, and then he lost it. I mean, he got an injury, and the injury was there, and he came back from the injury, but he was never quite the same. And, that's unfortunate. But I've had people who were business owners, and actually literally one guy had a stroke where he couldn't speak. He had half of his body was paralyzed, his face was paralyzed, and his speech was non-existent actually. And within literally 2 years, first of all, he'd taken operant effectual counseling, OEC, and that includes a bunch of other mind models in there, like question concepts and belief systems, and a lot of other ones. And the cool thing about that is he knew how to really keep himself resourceful by doing self-counseling. And operant effectual counseling is great for other people, like counseling others, but it's really, really one of the best self-counseling models, where you just ask yourself this specific order of questions, and all of a sudden everything starts shifting inside of you, and you stumble across information you didn't even think you had, and yet you're asking yourself your own questions, and all of a sudden you're answering and figuring out resources you didn't even know you had. And I don't know how many times I've done it to myself, and it irritates the hell out of me that I can't seem to do it on my own and get resourceful. Just, okay, I'm resourceful and poof, like, mindset stuff. I wish it was that simple, but I walk myself through these questions. And the really weird thing is, operant effectual counseling models, that model only takes on average 3 to 5 minutes to do hi, what seems to be the problem, to hey, can you let me know how things go? And you walk yourself through that whole thing. It's 3 to 5 minutes. I've also done really weird stuff with that. And so of a lot of my students who have taken that, the shortest one I've ever done was literally, sorry for, I apologize for sharing this, but it's so weird. You can get yourself resourceful in seconds. The very first time I recorded operant effectual counseling, it was strange. Anyway, I was teaching a bunch of people how to become life skills coaches. I'm a master trainer of life skills coaches. Took me 7 years designation or training to get that designation, as opposed to some of these things that you can get in 2 days online or 2 weeks online, or just pay somebody for a piece of paper, whatever. It took me 7 years. Okay. And that's after I became a coach, and becoming a life skills coach took me over 1,000 hours of training to get that designation. And I had to do 2 groups as practicum before I could get qualified. Then it was actually did 10 groups and then applied and got in and went for it. So it was about a 9-year process to get my full designation back in the day when we had the college up and going. Anyway, my point to all of this is operant effectual counseling. I was doing my training there, and the bizarre thing was I would give an assignment for people to resolve the issues of the day, whatever they walked in with, and they try and work it through and talk to people about those things. And the really interesting thing here was I would go give them the assignment, and I'd hear what the problem was, and then I'd get up and I'd leave, and I'd say, okay, you guys deal with it. Like, see what you can do. And I'd leave for an hour and a half. And they're still working on exactly the same problem an hour and a half later. Basically no movement whatsoever. Then I'd come back in and I'd chat with them and have some conversations with 2 or 3 or 4 people in the group. And within, I don't know, 7 to 15 minutes or so, everything would be resolved. Everything's moving forward. It's all fun. It's everything's good. And I did that, I don't know, 3 or 4 times. And one of the students got really, I came back this one time and I did it again. And she just said, Blair, how the hell do you do this? Like, I mean, you just seem to walk in, wave this magic wand, and poof, everybody's okay. And I go, well, it's skill. Well, what are you doing? You're just sitting back. You ask some random questions and poof. And I said, well, they're not exactly random. It's called a little thing I've been working on here. It's called operant effectual counseling. It's a different model of counseling. And they said, oh, okay. So I recorded it. I got one of my students in the group had been going to see a psychologist for 7 years regarding sexual abuse. And I've been trained as a sexual abuse counselor in traditional models. So I said, if my OEC does not work, I'll do it. So no matter what, you're going to be okay. And she said, okay, no problem. Is everybody in the rest of the group okay? Everybody was. So we did that. And she said, well, it could take a while. I said, I've got a 2-hour cassette in the recorder. Okay, so let's go. So I did my counseling, got her through, had it resolved, got her resourceful, rewound the tape, taught everybody all the steps that I did, showed people the breakdown of the skill sets in operant effectual counseling and a few mind models, which they sort of knew parts of. And then one of the people asked me, how long do you think it took? And I said, I think it took, no, actually I said, okay, so I flipped it back to the lady that I was counseling at the time. And I said, how long did that really take? You know, what was your perception of how long? She said, oh, it took about 20 minutes. And I went, no way, 10 minutes tops, 10 minutes tops. Anyway, we fortunately had it recorded. So we rewound the tape, played it through top to bottom. It took 22 seconds for the person to tell me the problem, not even tell me the problem. I said, what seems to be the problem? She got into it and go out the other side, and poof, she was resolved. Let me know how these will work for you. And 22 seconds later, which blew my mind, blew my socks off, because I didn't even realize that you could do it that fast. And that's how quickly mind models and the structure of thinking processes done effectively can make change happen in a person. Anyway, I went back 6 months later to see if the counseling had held and stuck, and sure enough, she was all fine, and she hadn't been back to the counselor, and everything was good. And I went back a year after that, and I had a really weird experience. She said, I haven't had this problem for years. She said, years, not a year and a half, but years. And I went, okay. And she said, this is strange because, you know, what you're describing to me, I don't really remember. It's just stuff that I dealt with years ago, and I'm good. I'm all good. And I go, hold it. What's going on here? Anyway, I went back, I dug up my tape, and it was the right person. I didn't have the wrong person. And then I went off to the university here and talked to a person who was studying neuroscience at the time. Not studying, but was teaching at the university. And I asked him, what's the issue? And he said, 22 seconds is not a long time for a significant experience in a person's brain. It's pretty short. And was it emotionally intense? Was there a ton of emotion around that? I said, no. It dealt with a ton of emotion, but the experience of going through with it wasn't. She still has the benefit of the counseling, but she doesn't remember the counseling itself. And that's because the ganglia, in the brain, you've got, each neuron has ganglia that are connected about to approximately 10,000 other neurons in your brain. So each cell. But if you don't use that pathway, that neural pathway in your brain, and it's lots of ganglia make a neural pathway, you don't retain it. And whatever was there got pruned, because the brain isn't going to waste that energy and that resource on something that it doesn't really need to. It'll keep the result of it, but it won't keep the memory of it necessarily if it's not a big deal for you. So we forget details, but remember big stuff. That's how our brain operates. And it wasn't a big deal for her. She forgot it, but she retained the benefit. And that was huge. That was a big aha for me. And so I was able to bring that into some of the future training that I did and whatnot. Anyway, sorry for the long story here, but I personally find that stuff fascinating. I don't know about you guys, but Jamie, I don't know, Dwayne, John, you guys, was that okay? Okay, thumbs up, good. Okay, awesome, two thumbs up, okay. So anyway, so these things are sticky. The parts that you need will be retained indefinitely, so long as you use them. If you don't use them, you lose them. So use it or lose it. But you don't have to use it a ton. You just have to use it so that you can get functional utility. And what that means is you can get the behaviors that you want out of yourself on an identifiable, repeatable, and duplicatable process. That's functional utility. And that transforms you. And that's how come, Jamie, these are so powerful when you take a look at it from the perspective of transforming mindset to mind models and go, look at what somebody can do with mind models that can be done when they're in the depths of despair. Mm-hmm. That can't be done with mindset, because mindset is a belief structure. Okay, mindset's a belief structure. Mind models are behavior-based models that you can do over and over and over and over again. And that's what makes them powerful.
Right. Yeah, it's a tool.
Yeah, it is a tool. It's actually a little bit more basic than a tool. It's a model that you can adapt to many different situations. A tool can be adapted to some situations, but you can't take a hammer and undo a screw with it. You can pound a screw in with it, but it's very, very difficult to undo a screw with a hammer. But with a mind model, you can make tweaks to it in different ways that are a little unexpected. And sometimes you can sort of take an evaluation tool and apply it where you didn't think you could before. And all of a sudden, oh my goodness, this thing works. And they're stackable. That's the other thing. We stack mind models. We can make multi-tools out of them. And I think of superheroes, and I think of mind models as sort of like Batman's utility belt, because it is, you got a plethora of tools on your belt. You can pick out one or two, you can snap them together, and you got a brand new type of tool that you can use, and boom, and you can change your life and influence others in the process of doing it. Anyway, on with the show, as they say. So please, guys who are on the panel, feel totally free to jump in wherever you want. Ask me questions about anything. Interrupt. You can please feel totally free to interrupt. I don't have any issues with that whatsoever. Okay, so 3 magic words, and I'm going to bring this up in a second here. I'm just going to bring that down and share my screen here, my iPad screen via cable. Just working on that and clicking share, so that should come up here in a, okay, that's not, there we go, now I got it. Okay, and should be coming up now. There we go. So we're going to go free. Cool. So no, it's not please and thank you or anything like that. So what do you think the 3 magic words might be, guys? John, Dwayne, Jamie, I'm throwing this out. Jump in.
Well, since it's not please, I guess my may I please ain't.
No, it ain't going to cut it either. So what would we do if we wanted to create a way of managing our thoughts and other people's thoughts without being manipulative? This isn't a manipulation. This is just about offering a way to cause people to think through a situation and create change. And
questions?
Yeah, they are. And they're words that we attach to questions. So they're not.
Would you mind?
Sorry?
What about would you mind? I was listening to one of your other sessions about, I think it was last week's.
Oh, that's very good. Yeah. That is one of the would you mind stuff, is definitely about learning and geez, my brain is freezing for some reason. But anyway, that is when you jump on and you're actually getting somebody for alignment. You're actually building alignment with somebody and you're asking permission. Do you mind or would you mind? So you're seeking permission. Not the same thing, but it's warm. It's like that. So that's good.
Logical concluding questions.
Sorry?
Logical concluding questions.
Yes and no. They're actually going to get an experience and help you cause an experience to happen either in yourself or in somebody else. So what do you think? What kind of experience do we need to have to be able to become more resourceful? And J.R. Noble says challenging assumptions. They will work in challenging assumptions, but not the way that you're probably thinking, but they can be used to manage or to cause a challenge to assumptions. One of many things that they can do. So what I'm going to do then is I'm going to throw out a question to you guys with one of those magic words in there, just to have you tell me what you experience, okay? So just clear your minds, Dwayne, Jamie, John, clear your minds, and just tell me what happens in your mind. And if it's nothing, it's nothing, but if just tell me, okay? So what might you do? What's happening?
Lots.
There's an opening.
Yes.
It's an expansion.
Now, is that opening providing lots of thoughts or just a gap?
A gap.
A gap for you? Okay. That's okay. I just need to know. But is it, Jamie, does it give you lots of possibilities?
Lots of possibilities for me.
Okay. So we'll have one of two things that happen. And it's either going to be lots of possibility, like Jamie, or it will be a bit of a gap. And the gap is usually almost a sense of overwhelm. Is that also in there when I say, okay, I cannot click that trust, but I can click here. And I did not fix this then. Okay. Anyway, so the issue here is did you get a sense of, like, initially just what might you do? And you go, that's like so big, it's might as well be nothing. Is that one of the thoughts that sort of subconsciously sort of washes over you? Like it's so much, it doesn't count?
Can I say exactly what I thought?
Yeah, please.
It was, oh crap.
Oh crap, about what? That's a great one. Oh crap. What was,
like, oh wow,
what?
Where?
Yeah, it's like, oh crap. It's like, oh crap is almost an overwhelmed statement, is it not?
Right.
Yeah, so a lot. Like, even though your brain doesn't consciously recognize it, it's like, oh crap, too much, on overload. Okay, and other people will go, nope, just can't deal with it, too much. Okay, so that's one there, and I'm going to just point out the first magic word is might. What might you do? And the second magic word is going to be in this. So what might you do specifically? Just think about that one. What might you do specifically? So how many ideas are in your mind? Jamie?
Wow.
Wow.
My first thought is specifically about what?
Okay, you get to choose.
And so that's kind of where I went with that.
Sure. So what might you do specifically?
So is that a question?
Yes, it is.
Again, I think I just keep going to specifically to what?
So answer it.
What now?
Right. So where did you naturally go? Dwayne, where did you naturally go?
So what now?
Right. So you came to the present.
Got it.
Now, you're seeking an answer, correct?
Yes.
So generally, how many ideas are floating around? If there was lots of ideas and you just go, what might you do specifically? So what might you do specifically? How many ideas, abstract or whatever, how many ideas does it feel like you have in your brain? Lots?
Overload.
Instead of thinking in the past and being stuck in a closed loop. Okay. I've heard that in Robert Meyer's book. It causes you to get to the present and consider new possibilities. Interesting. Okay. Very interesting. I didn't know that that was out there. I've been teaching this for 30 years. So somebody else figured this out. Good. Anyway, so how many, John, any ideas, any thoughts there? How many ideas are randomly, like abstract? What does it feel like? Lots or a few?
Well, fewer. So the what might you do is this kind of opening, and I didn't think of it in terms of past, present, future, but that now it feels very future oriented.
Right.
All these possibilities, or just casting for, kind of the scanning mode almost. And then the specifically is much more of a narrowing to, okay, it's time to choose.
Right.
Choosing is now.
So you get more in the present.
You get more in the present, but you go to now. So the next part of this one is going to be really simple. So what might you do specific
now?
Right. So what might you do specifically now?
So specifically word number 2?
Yes, it is. So what I should do here is word number 1 is might. Second one is specifically.
And then now.
Third one is now.
Got it.
And these are 3 different questions that you can use your 3 magic words in. And I have a 4th one just for people who have a different size of now. And same question, but you might have to go right now.
Right now. Mm-hmm.
Because the size of their now is just too big. And so generally what I found just by doing a whole lot of testing, you guys are sort of in the middle there in the average range a little bit. When you don't have a specific problem in your mind, you just are asked to vaguely do something in an abstract way. Your responses are pretty normal. So what might you do generally gives people that sense of either overwhelm or lots, or somebody in the group usually says 1,000 or a lot of things, hundreds of ideas are flashing through my brain. Mm-hmm. Can't really connect on it. But there's lots. And I go, okay, so what might you do specifically? Specifically usually shrinks it down to 2 or 3. And people go, okay, I can make a decision out of 2 or 3 things. And it's specific. It's these 1, 2, or 3 things. Usually not 1, though. It's almost always 2 or 3. Yeah. So when you say, so what might you do specifically now? People can only do 1 thing at a time in the now. And so it forces them into this whole thing. And for those of you out there who have a very large now, and people do have different sizes of nows, I tested that out and found that to be true. It's rather interesting what size of now they actually have. So, whoops, that's perfect. Now I just need to get rid of that and go back here. So what we have here is a thing that I refer to as a thought funnel. And this language pattern gives people the ability to manage a thought funnel. Now, if you could come up with a problem or an issue that you have, and you think of one, and something that you would not mind sharing, would that be okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Jamie?
A problem that I have now is I'm doing my fan page.
Okay, and
I'm trying to it's too big right now. I'm trying to get it down a little more specific.
Okay. So do you mind if I ask you some questions
Nope.
using skill set from last year, the alignment process?
Mhm.
And I just asked for permission. So just pointing out and stacking these, mind models here.
Right.
So, do you mind if I
Nope,
ask you?
go ahead.
Okay, great.
We
Super.
love the help.
So what might you do about that?
I would get rid of some of the clutter around me and focus.
Okay, 2 seconds here. Okay, so notice that your hands are going big and wide. So, and you said some of the clutter.
Right.
So after removing that clutter, what might you do specifically?
Write out some ideas.
Great. So what might you do specifically?
Instead of it being in my head.
Right. I hear them. I hear that. So what might you do specifically now?
Pick one.
Great. So which one would you pick to write down?
I don't think I've gotten to that part yet.
Okay. So
Jamie.
I'm still in the needing to, they're up here. I need to get them floating. I need to get them on paper.
great. So when specifically might you be able to get those on paper?
I'm traveling tomorrow. So,
How long will it take you to get them on paper?
well, I might could do it on the drive. That'd be good. I'm the passenger.
Oh, good.
I would say, yeah. That's a good point. Let's see. I think get them on paper. I could probably do that within 30 minutes because I want to get it. Yeah.
Could you let me know how that goes?
Yeah.
Just drop me Facebook message or just whatever.
Would love to.
Okay,
I
cool.
love being accountable.
Good. So there you go. So how effective was this process for you?
Oh no, that's very helpful. And because it's a step by step, it's almost like I know that already, but but having the steps is what makes it easier.
It's weird because we're actually taking all of this clutter stuff and we're making the boundaries here of the funnel very, very clear.
Mm-hmm.
And so before, what you had here was just all kinds of things everywhere. We didn't worry about that. You can see the screen, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, great. So what we wound up doing,
like.
sorry?
That's exactly what my brain looks like.
Yeah, like all of those green squiggles and lines in there. It's a mess. Now, we don't really do anything with that mess here. All I did was give verbal boundaries to that mess and created a thought funnel.
Right.
And
that's good.
And that's all that I did.
Yeah.
Yet when you put those boundaries on it, your brain now knows that it's contained. And poof, you have this thought funnel. And one of these is going to have to drop out of here. Mm-hmm. And, so you write them down. And at this point here, you've got a bunch of things written down. And then you ask yourself, so what might I do specifically now? Or which one of these might I do specifically now? And all of a sudden, you have one single idea to work on next.
Yeah, and it doesn't mean the other ideas go away. It just means into the funnel.
Right. And it's like now it's this thought funnel that drops one to start on first, because 90% of our stuck state comes from, I've got too many ideas and I don't know which one to pick.
Yes.
Yeah. Hey, Dwayne. Yeah. You're like going, absolutely. That's right. That's like right in my hand. That's me. Because that is seriously a place where so many people get stuck. Hey, me too. Like, that's my problem. has been my problem, but I created this. I figured out a way to break myself out and manage myself and just work through this. And I needed to come up with right now, because my now sometimes is bigger at sometimes than other times. And so I have to do it right now, like, and sometimes right now, like immediately right now. And I snap my fingers and say, okay, Blair, you got to do it right now. And okay, boom, like, and I do. And it's stupid how it works on my brain. And I've taught this to my wife and unfortunately my kids, and they do it to me and it still works. And I know what they're doing. I know exactly what they're doing, yet it's a thought funnel that we naturally go through and we do it sort of subconsciously. This is a normal, natural decision-making process because we know we can only do something in the present. So we have to bring our mind to the present moment and have a model that actually enables us to distill down one single thing to work on right now, and then next, and then next, and then next. But each of those are different moments of nows that we are moving forward through. And as we move forward through it, it becomes a next. So.
Love it. Thank you.
Okay. And what did you get from this, John?
It makes a lot of sense, and yet I also find myself, thinking, okay, well, I've got all these things that I want to do and balance, and yet my tendency is to want to do one thing until I finish it. Just throw myself completely into one thing, like I'm studying to pass a certification test, and I want to throw myself completely into that. But I also need to be doing other things. I mean, I've got just the normal life stuff, plus I've got.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
So here we go. Like, what's going to happen, right? So let's just see what happens. Okay, so that's what your problem seems to be, correct? You like throwing yourself into one thing, right?
Yes.
Okay, so what might you do about that? Because is that actually an issue for you, or is it a non-issue?
It's an issue because it's not practical. It's not effective.
Great. Okay. So it is a real problem for you. So what might you do about that?
I could work with some sort of scheduling process to.
Okay, great. A scheduling process. Excellent. What else might you do? Notice how I cut him off. I jump in, I use his keywords and phrases, but I limit it to, so he can't go running off and doing that whole thing. This is the only, if you're looking for a trick to the whole thing, doing it to yourself, this is the thing that you've got to be able to do with yourself. Just limit it to one thought, one chunk, okay? Not more. And then ask yourself the question, okay, what else might I do? Because when you know that you're going to come up with more, it's easier for you to limit it to one. But then you get to choose because you've got two. So you've got a choice to make now. So what else might you do? What else might you do specifically, actually?
Prioritize.
Well, I could prioritize.
Okay. Does that really work, or was that your wife's idea of prioritizing?
Well, that would probably be another issue for me.
Yeah, but no, seriously, is that effective, or is that not? Is that in your
prioritizing is effective when I can, when it's clear, when I can make a clear priority. Like I've got one thing has a deadline one thing I'm working on has a deadline, and another thing doesn't have a deadline. Well, then it's easier to prioritize the one with the deadline.
Cool. Okay. So making it a deadline and setting it up as this. So you've got two things. You've got making it a priority, and then setting a deadline to it. Correct?
Right.
Okay. Anything else? So what else might you do specifically now? Or what might you do specifically now?
Progress differently. That just kind of came to my mind.
Sorry, what was that?
Evaluating my progress differently. So
how might you do that specifically? How might you evaluate your progress differently? This is a different problem, but this is a resource for the other problem.
Yes.
Okay, so this is a good thing, not a bad thing. So how might you evaluate that differently?
Labeling success in smaller chunks.
Interesting. So when you label things in smaller chunks, what might that do for you specifically now?
It would give me a sense of accomplishment from doing smaller pieces of different projects, and therefore probably overcome my sense of wanting to complete a whole big thing at one time by getting that same sense of completion out of smaller pieces.
How effective might that be for you?
That could be a big change.
On a scale of 1 to 10, when you think about that, doing that, what level of value could you pull from that? Just thinking about it now. An 8 or a 9. How likely are you now to go ahead and do that on a scale of 1 to 10?
7 or 8.
Okay. So what might you need to do to get it to a 9 or a 10? What might you need to do differently, specifically now? Differently.
Maybe define those chunks better.
Interesting. If you define those chunks better in your mind, does that raise the number in your mind that you're probably more likely to do it?
Yeah.
Okay. And what would that definition look like? Or more specifically, when specifically are you going to take the time to write out that definition?
That'll be tomorrow morning.
Okay. Could you send that to me as well? You're on Messenger. You could message me. Or you could put it in the Facebook group, because you guys are both in the Facebook group, and just put it on there so other people see what the possibility is, and just share that. If you're comfortable doing that, I'd certainly appreciate that a ton.
I'll see what I can do.
Okay. Now those are...
I'm not going to promise to put it on the Facebook group because I have no idea what it's going to look like.
Can you let me know on the Facebook group whether or not you did something for real or not?
Yes.
Number one. Okay, what are you holding up there? Is that a number on the page? I can't quite tell.
I'm hiding.
Oh, okay. It's like, yeah, I thought it might be that, but I wanted to give you the benefit of the doubt, Dwayne. So okay.
You're next.
Dun, 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 dun. So, oh damn! I'm gonna be busted here in a
Actually, I said tomorrow morning. I just realized I do have an appointment all morning tomorrow, so it'll have to be tomorrow afternoon.
Okay, fair ball. That's totally acceptable to me. I mean, that is like 100% acceptable to me. But when are you going to commit to doing that for real with you? Okay. And will you put some indication to me on actually just message me and tell me what you did personally? Because you don't want to put it on the Facebook group. I get that. So can you just message me and let me know?
Yes.
Okay, great. Super. Let me know how that goes for you. Okay. The odds of you doing that are now what? On a scale of 1 to 10. What's the probability?
9 to 10.
Seriously?
Well, yeah.
Okay, good. I mean, there's no sense kidding me about it or, pledging it, because my point here is we got to learn how to get ourselves resourceful. And sometimes we do need a little guidance with just somebody holding you a little bit accountable. But do you notice how low how low the accountability factor is here is very minimal. You have to do everything except just type it up and put it on there, but you had to write it up anyway. No matter what, you got to commit this thing down on paper. Make sense?
Well, but the difference is, Blair, is that before we didn't have the structure to get there.
Bingo, exactly.
And so now it'll be easier. So the accountability is strictly because we promised, but it's not. You still have to do it.
Absolutely, you still have to do it. But the issue there is it difficult to do? Now, is this an overwhelmingly difficult thing for you to do in your mind at this point?
No.
So
it was. Now it's not.
Yeah, exactly. It was. Where was it, Jamie? Where was it? Scale of 1 to 10 before
it was like a 9 to 10.
Right. And now it is how big? Where is it in your mind now?
Yeah. Oh no. Now it's like I'd say a 2 or a 3, but that's more because I just know I have to make the time to do it. It's not
right. And you've got the car drive to do it.
Right.
And you've even figured out when and where you can make this all happen.
Right.
So is that cool or is that cool?
That is.
Yeah, it's simple. It's simple to do now. It's not a big deal with that whole thing. It's just getting it done. John, for you, how is this? Where was it before and how is it now?
I'm not as clear as Jamie, I'd say. It still feels like something to tackle. But
I agree. It's not the same because it's not the same kind of problem. It's very
the opposite kind of problem.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't expect it to be the same.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't expect the numbers to be the same.
Right.
So either. So John, what are your numbers? It's okay to have them unique and different. It's okay. Don't compare. Just evaluate.
Numbers of what?
Sorry?
What's the question about numbers?
The question is, where were you when you thought of that problem initially? How big of a deal was it for you? Scale of 1 to 10.
Big deal, 9, 10.
Right. And now, how big of a deal is it for you now?
Maybe 4 or 5.
Right. It's not a 2, it's a 4 or 5. How come? Because this one is actually rhetorical. The rationale here is you have way more emotion attached to solving big problems than you do than Jamie does with hers. Once she gets it down, she can do it. She just needs to figure out a model to do it.
Right.
This one is you have to overcome a significant habit pattern, and you have to put in serious mental energy to make it happen.
Right.
This is not an easy thing.
Mm-hmm.
This takes real work, and you're going to have to put in the real work. And the more times you practice this, in fact, you only need to practice this, I'd say, under 10 times, and you can break your habit and change your life. And how come? Because you've already got all of the basic principles in your subconscious mind. Because you wouldn't have found these resources without that. Okay, I would have had to have broken it down way finer, way more granular. And when I ask the questions, answers would not pop into your head. Because when people don't have experience doing something, they have nothing to draw on. It's not in their head at all. So, I mean, that is crazy stupid and completely, ineffective when they do that. So, I mean, it's just one of those things where people have to shift. And when you figure out how to shift everything, everything goes kablooey, it changes. And all of a sudden, it all works. It all starts working. You have to put in repetition. You don't have to put in a ton of repetition. This is not going to take weeks, like 21 days to build a new habit. How come?
3 times.
Yeah, really, basically, it's 3 times, and you've got over a 70% likelihood of being able to have it locked in. You do it 10 times and you're at 99.9%.
Wow.
Okay. So this is not impossible. This is very, very doable. How come? Because I've designed mind models to be simple like this. And you do it 3 times and you're, depending on where it is, it's 70 to 80%. But at 10 times, you're at 99.9%. And you're virtually locked in. You could almost call it 100%, but it's almost 100%. It isn't 100% because occasionally you have anomalies that you didn't take something into account in your life where you actually have to learn something else and acquire a new skill set or behavior before that one actually works for you in that moment. Dwayne, okay. Sorry, John, you okay with moving on?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So, Dwayne, you're up. So, what seems to be, what problem do you have that you'd like to go through this process with and create a thought funnel around?
Okay, I guess my thought process right now is I'm going to be going to Atlanta in 2 weeks. In fact, 2 weeks from today, to be part of a mastermind group with a bunch of very influential people in the business. And I'm working on identifying my unique difference right now.
Nice.
And establishing exactly where I want to go in my, narrowing my niche from, as wide as the gap from me to where you live in Canada down to one single thing.
That it takes a lot of work, and I will share what I've been working on for my one-liner, as you will. I've figured out a one-liner. Myself and Trevor actually worked on a one-liner today. I did a lot of the initial heavy lifting, throwing some stuff out, but he kept on saying, no, that's not simple enough. That's not short enough. It's too clunky. It doesn't flow. I could have wrung his neck, but he wasn't there with me, so I couldn't share that. But I can now because he's muted, and I can talk about him. But he can hear this stuff anyway. But the point, our one-liner that we came up for rewiring the mind is we help busy entrepreneurs who have stalled out make small shifts in thinking, we help busy entrepreneurs who have stalled out make small shifts in thinking, which provides the clarity and self-confidence to accomplish their goals faster and more easily. So does that ring true for you?
Well, the mantra, I guess you could say, that I'm working on is, you've heard the old saying, mind your own business.
Yep.
Well, I'm working on one about, I'm here to mind your business. So I'm toying with those ideas, trying to narrow things down.
So,
and mind models is actually what I'm moving into.
Interesting.
That's what Trevor said. He's seen my email and he hasn't responded to it yet, was talking about.
Interesting. Okay.
But I have, I'm just thoroughly, I hate to say engrossed, but this has captured me and my attention and my passion so deeply. And, I spend all day reading and studying and trying to find some of the things that you've talked about and how I could put some of my own, make it unique to me, addressing people.
Interesting. Okay. So, how can we help you specifically? So, what might you do about this issue that you have about finding and making it unique? What might you do?
what I'm doing right now is writing down my life's experiences and what happened then and how it could translate to help somebody now. But it's still going out on rabbit trails. So I'm still trying to focus in on one specific avenue.
Okay. So what might you do specifically?
Try to narrow my list down.
Okay. And what might you do specifically now, right now?
Make up my mind on exactly how I want to move forward.
How effective is that decision-making for model for you working? How effective is that decision-making model of making up your mind right now going to work for you? Is it going to be highly effective, not highly effective?
Highly effective.
Okay. So if that's going to be highly effective, what's stopping you from doing that right now?
Nothing now, because everything is, some clarity has come to me tonight through everything that we've discussed so far.
Interesting. So, what specifically might you do now that's different than what you've done before to execute on this model?
Quit procrastinating the decision and just make it.
Do you know if the decision is going to be the right decision for you?
No, not 100%, but I'm willing.
How do you ever find these things out?
You keep doing mind models.
Yeah, and one of the mind models I wasn't planning on teaching, and I guess I'm not going to get to the second one, which is I'm sort of am doing it, but I don't think I've got time to really dig in and teach it unless I keep going. Here, I'll talk to you guys about that in a minute. But what I am seeing here is you're trying to, do you mind if I fill you in on some of the stuff I'm noticing?
No, not at all.
Okay, so do you notice in your behavior that you're trying to get it right?
Oh, absolutely. And
right.
We've talked about this before.
Yeah, we have. And is it effective going after something that's right? Is going after something right a judgment, or is it an evaluation?
It would be a judgment.
Correct. Right, wrong, good, or bad is all evaluation words. Or sorry, judgment words. Judgment words. Evaluation words are, is that effective? Is that ineffective? Did that work for me? Did that not work for me? Those are evaluation words. Right, wrong, good, or bad are judgment words. So do you want to make a judgment, or do you want to make an evaluation?
I want to make an evaluation.
Do you have any external data points when you come up with your new idea to make a true evaluation? Now.
Unsure now. Unsure.
Well, okay, unsure. Let me fill you in. You don't have any data points. You can evaluate it. You can judge it. You can make a best guess. But then what you can do is you can evaluate it because you can test it. You can put it out on the internet. You can put it out to people on Facebook and ask them to comment which way works, which do they perceive is more effective. You could come up with 2 versions and spew that out at your mastermind and see what people in the mastermind prefer. You could do those things. Or you could just pick one and test it and see how it works and then wait for the data to come in. At that point, those are evaluations. Those are there, but you're wanting to get it done now, and you're wanting to get it done correctly the first time without ever making a mistake. I go, relax. You're going to make a mistake. It's going to be likely wrong. Yeah, is that a judgment word? Absolutely it is. How come? Because you don't have data points to evaluate. So what you do is do a thing that I call fail fast falling forward. So the more that you can fail fast falling forward and do that incrementally, you can figure out what works quickly while you're failing. You're not losing ground, you're gaining ground, which is actually creating a win, even though you fail. And this, by the way, John, is something that I was trying to get to and allude to with you, because you chunk things up. So it's an all or nothing scenario. And you know what you want to do is fail fast falling forward as well. You want to make incremental fails in things so you can find out what works and what doesn't work quickly. Because certain things, most things won't work. Okay? If you take a look at success rates, okay, batting averages. So a batting average, okay, you laugh. You got to know baseball. So tell me about batting averages. The guy hits 351. Is that a great batting average or a good one or a terrible one?
351 is great.
Yeah. And what does that mean?
It means 1 in 3 times he gets a hit.
Actually, slightly more than that, but 1 in 3. So 2 out of 3 times he strikes out. He fails. Yet for some reason in baseball, 351 batting average is like, oh my God, that's freaking amazing, because he's not at a 150 batting average, because the whole number here is out of 1,000 times at plate. How many times will he actually get a hit? 351 out of 1,000. It's amazing. I mean, it's, when you think about it, to be a success, you can, there are stories. Wayne Gretzky, I'm into hockey, I'm Edmontonian, saw him live many, many times when he was here and playing here. And at the end of the day, you look at shots on goal that Wayne Gretzky has, and yet he had a lot of shots on goal. And he's still got the #1 scoring record in the NHL. I mean, it's amazing. And he's more goals than anybody by far. Wilt Chamberlain outshot everybody and wound up having one game that he shot over. He had 100 points. Like he shot, 50 baskets and sunk them because he wanted to be a standout. He wanted to do that, and he did it. He had the skills to do that. But the number of shots that he had to take to make that happen, not in that one game, but in his lifetime to get there, is not, a 1-to-1 ratio. This is not every time he shoots, it goes in. No. There are hundreds, if not thousands of shots that missed in order for him to get that record. Every superstar, doesn't matter who you are, you fail way more than you win. And yet your language pattern is indicating that you're anticipating to win on your first attempt. See, for me, I get real, it's almost silly, right? When you think about it. But for me, I just learned I'm going to fail. I'm dyslexic. I mean, I so love the fact that I'm dyslexic, because I learned very, very early in life that I'm going to fail a lot. And I figured out that I might as well just get freaking comfortable with screwing up and just do it fast enough and gracefully enough so that nobody really notices that I fail, because I saw it didn't work. So I go on to the next one. And people don't even notice half the time when I screw up. And I just keep on going to the next one. So, I mean, it doesn't matter. I noticed that was a mistake, but I don't care. I don't care. I care that I got the data to be able to figure out what to do next. That is what mattered to me.
Well, as we had discussed before, I was a systems analyst.
I know. I recall that conversation.
I was a system analyst for missile systems. So it was very critical that I was right on time. Everything worked because you got one shot.
Yeah, but you also had time to test that thing that you wrote, that software or that piece. It wasn't that you had to do it blindly,
Right.
correct?
Correct.
So how many tests did you get to run before it went operational? I guarantee you it wasn't one, it wasn't, oh, I wrote it here, it goes operational, right?
No, it was thousands.
Thank you. Thousands. Like it's like, a batting average, 1 to 1,000. Like that's your batting average. You have 1. You have to make 999 other mistakes before you get a 1 to put it into operational. Think about life like that. Think about it and behave accordingly. Literally take the load off yourself, get rid of the pressure and go, good, I get to make a whole lot of little mistakes here really, really, really quickly until I find one that works. And when I find one that works, I keep it. And then I go and make a whole bunch of more mistakes to get the next thing that stacks on top of this. Do you know how many times I screwed up with mind models to find the ones that actually work? It's countless. It's tens of thousands.
Actually, what we just talked about and what you just said just caused a light bulb to go ding, 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 ding in my head.
And what happened?
It's like, yes, put it out there and see what is effective and what's not effective.
Bingo. And that's all you have to do. It's that simple. And you've just laid it out for evaluation. Just see what happens. Let the real world tell you whether or not it's effective or ineffective. Don't make a judgment call and go, I'm betting the farm on this one. Okay? That's dumb. That's almost a guaranteed fail.
Yes.
Okay? Because you're betting everything on one call. And 1 in 1,000 you'll get right. But I don't like those odds. I don't want to play those odds. So I choose not to. I'm going to put a whole lot of things out there, do a whole lot of things as quickly as I can, get it out there and make it work.
I'm going to let John do it for me.
Absolutely. There you go. John, you're brought in. There you go. You get to test this stuff out. And yeah, you guys can start using each other, like in the Facebook group, and start sharing these things and just put it out there and see what happens. So share it and get people to give you feedback on it and just ask in the Facebook group what's going on. Like, what do you guys think about this? And start at that community building that's there.
Okay. I didn't even think about using it that way. I would love to do that.
Guys, you know what, who are on here, if you like that, let me know. I certainly am trying to encourage that personally. I'd love to see that happen, and gives you guys a place to comment on it with each other. Just ask for feedback. Yes. Yeah. And so we get another person there. Shelly says yes to that whole thing. Immediately popped up. Oh my goodness. JR. I forgot the whole statement, but something like, we help stuck and frustrated entrepreneurs speed up their results to accomplish goals through the use of mind models. Would have all 3 parts that the XYZ statement and seems more complete. Oh, interesting. Okay. So we help busy entrepreneurs who have stalled out make small shifts in thinking, providing the clarity and self-confidence to accomplish their goals faster and more easily. So that's what we're running around. Pardon me?
Insanely fast, sanely.
That's cool. Insanely fast, sanely. Okay, interesting. I like that whole thing. I don't think people who haven't been on this would understand how insanely fast. People have beliefs, and I've run into them so often. So I got to keep things within expectation, normal levels of expectations to attract customers. Because if I go, like I can share here that I did a counseling model and I actually counseled somebody in 22 seconds, and you guys believe me. But if I go out there and tell an average person that thing, well, Blair counsels people in 22 seconds, they go, bullshit. Like, that's crap. That can't be done. Well, it can't be done because they don't have the technology to do it. I do. I think I shared this earlier today. I was interviewed for this thing called the Entrepreneur Way. Neil Ball from England was interviewing me, and he has a podcast called The Entrepreneur Way. You might want to look it up. It's interesting. Very interesting guy. Anyway, we were chatting, and I shared with him that whole thing about failing fast, falling forward, and the other piece. And it's fascinating. If you don't lay the groundwork, trying to tell people about what you do that's so quick is sort of like the thing that Arthur C. Clarke shared, and his quote about technology that is so far advanced from where we are currently seems like magic to us. And, that this is just technology that is really advanced. Psychologists have told me repeatedly, what you do is impossible. You can't do it. And yet I then profile them, and then I counsel them. And I taught a dean of psychology how to do operative effectual counseling. And he said, wow, this is amazing. Like, it actually worked on me. Like, I didn't think it was possible. And yet he had the experience. It happened. It helped. So all of these things are possible if you approach it. And you're learning from a guy who's dyslexic. Okay, I got a learning disability, guys. This isn't, anything that I'm bragging about. I'm just saying that if I can do it, you guys can figure it out. Not everybody is perfect, but if we incrementally do it and let the real world give us data points, we can transform our lives in ways we have no idea what we can do. So there you go.
Blair, can I ask you a question?
Please, fire away.
Was the process that you led us through tonight an example of the operative effectual counseling?
It's modified, and it's modified using the 3 magic words heavily. So it's not actually OEC, but it's close. So there's a few other things that I would be doing in OEC that would be different than this. And I also would be far more restrictive on what I asked as well. So I was fairly verbose in my modeling of the questions. So anyway.
Thanks.
Yeah, no worries. Okay, so with that, we're an hour and 28 minutes into this whole thing. So what's been working for you guys thus far? John, I'm going to pick on you again. So what's worked? What have you pulled from this? And next week we will do question progression. Because I really don't want to dive into it, because this is, I feel, okay, you go ahead and describe. I don't want to put ideas in your head. And then I'll ask you guys questions. So John, what have you pulled thus far? Yeah, what works for you?
That it's, I participated. It's moved me forward. I've made a commitment to fix a broken process that will result in greater success for me.
How long have you had that broken process in your life?
Many years.
So this is years. And how long did it take to fix that process?
I don't know that it's fixed yet because I haven't implemented it, but
to find a model that could potentially fix it.
So sort it down to something that's relatable and doable. 2 or 3 minutes.
Yeah, more or less. Yeah, not long. Maybe 5 or 10 tops, but between 2 and 10 minutes, definitely somewhere in there. So, how effective has it been for you tonight to be on here as a panelist?
Highly effective.
Cool. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, I love this new model.
Yeah. Okay. What do you love about it specifically, Jamie?
I think that anytime you can do the show and tell, and even I would think for the people listening, it's even better. You'd have to ask them, but it's like doing a role play. You know, trying to teach somebody something, and you role play, it makes it so much more real. So when the issue comes, or whatever. I know I used to work with at-risk teens on drugs, and we would, you know, they had stopped using, but they were concerned with their PEM or whoever it was, the drug dealer coming back to them. So we would role play what they would say. And I can remember them saying, "Oh, that's silly." And I'm like, "Let's just practice." And so when it happened, then they would go, "Wow, it was so easy for me to say no because it was already planned and I'd already done it several times." And so I think that's what this does, if that makes sense.
Absolutely, it does. What fires together wires together.
Right.
So you're actually embedding a language pattern in somebody's head, or you're embedding a plan in somebody's head in real time, for real, that has got a much higher probability of being executed than you guys just hearing about it, because you've experienced it.
Well, also, I think even and like I said, you'd have to ask the people who are just listening, but for them to watch it makes it even stronger than just hearing you talk about it.
Absolutely.
Because once we leave, we have to go, okay, now what does that look like? And so now, even if I wasn't on the panel, I would think that just watching it gives me that example. Now I can picture it in my head on how to do it.
Absolutely. So true. So true. Yep.
And for the people that are out there watching that are not following us week to week, I guess my big aha moment a while ago was a lot tied into what was discussed last week on the why. Instead of looking back, coming in now and looking forward, kind of help tie all this in to making this even more of an effective tool for me.
Very cool. You know, forward thinking, planning and moving things forward incrementally is absolutely huge. And, you know, it's very tough to move forward in life looking backwards, walking backwards, looking over your shoulder to get a glimpse of your future. It's very, very difficult to do. And yet so many people are so focused on what has happened to them, and that they miss where they are now and where they're planning on going, because they're going away. And we want to be going forward towards our future, not away from our future. So, you know, we're going to go into our future regardless. Just figure out your orientation. Are you looking forward, or are you going to trip and fall because you're walking backwards trying to go forwards? Because you will go forwards no matter what. And I want to fail forwards, falling fast. So I want to be forward facing and failing, so I can catch myself, put my foot out and catch myself on that fail. And I don't even have to hit the ground, and I can recover and move forward so easily when I fail fast, falling forward. So that's the other mind model today, is just fail fast, falling forward. So I'll do those two as opposed to setting up the question progression. We can do that one next week. Anybody else on the call here that is interested in getting profiled? So we have 4 or 5 callers that are in the, or not callers, but people in here that are attendees, and just wondering about being able to look at them and say, okay, what would you like to do? If anybody would like to be profiled, we can definitely go to ask them to raise their hand.
I would also like to thank Jamie and John for being on with us tonight.
You know what? I'd like to thank all three of you for being on. I mean, personally, I want to get some feedback on how is it with the new format and having panelists. So that's one of the things I'd like to take a look at here and just ask a question around and see how that worked for you. So how did it work for you guys?
Oh, it was great for me to actually get to hear what you were saying and put it into play at the same time with other people, John and Jamie, together.
Nice, good.
Actually get to see it work as it happened.
So is this a format more effective for you, Dwayne?
Yes, very much.
Cool. And Jamie?
Yes, very much.
John?
Oh, yeah.
Cool. So what are the benefits? Dwayne mentioned some. Jamie, John, what were the benefits to you? What did you gain out of this?
Well, I kind of key off what Jamie said in terms of being the role play. I mean, getting in the hot seat, yeah, it's uncomfortable. This is that safety versus comfort mind model that you've talked about. Yep. This was definitely not comfortable. But, one of the things, I've been observing a lot of things that are called training, that it's basically a video or somebody standing in front of a room and they just talk and there's no back and forth, there's no interactivity, and nobody's actually practicing anything. And if you aren't practicing it real time, it's not training. Nice. You can learn from it, but so now I'm on record as saying that. I guess my training will have to follow suit.
Well, you're hooped. Okay. You got to do something about that stuff and get something jotted down, and give me some piece of information. You've just committed. You have been trained. So there you go. I expect your training to become operational by tomorrow sometime. So, yeah. Ooh.
Big trouble.
Yeah, big trouble. Jamie, you in agreement? Everything?
Yeah, I'm in total agreement. I think this is a perfect way to do it. And I think that also just for your course that you do, it would even help for people who purchase the course to be able to get on here and kind of watch things go. Even though this is the slower way, I think it helps.
I don't know. Have you purchased the course?
Not yet, because
what you'll see, this is not exactly. I do it live. I invite people between 3 and 5 people up on stage. I listen to them, I profile them, I pull out the information, and then I work with each one to work on that one mind model 3 to 5 different ways with each person. And, Trevor and I were batting this one around, and we decided, let's just try doing it the way that I did it back in Austin when I did that original training. It seemed to get a lot of traction. It seemed to be well received, and people learned a lot from it who watched the video.
Yeah, I saw one of those videos.
Yeah. Nice.
But it was very helpful, and so that's why I think this is stick with this.
Yeah. Okay, cool. No, decision made. I think I got very positive feedback. I got an evaluation here. And, if any of the people on the call are finding it not effective, please let me know. I want to hear the good, the bad, the ugly. But that's highly effective. I'm thrilled. So anyway, so nobody in the outside attendees has put up their hand. Joe did. She just, I said nobody did. And then Joe did. Okay, Joe, I will profile you. So since I've actually profiled all 3 of you before, I will bid you adieu. And thank you so much for jumping on. And hopefully see you guys all next week. And hey, who's ever on early in the show, like right around 7, jump on and you too can be a panelist. So, that's it. That's going to be.
Bye.
Okay.
Good luck in Atlanta, Dwayne.
Yeah, good luck in Atlanta.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, I'll bring you guys all back to panelists except Joe. Just give me a moment.
No worries.
No, it comes on at 9.
And Joe, you're going to have to hit your mic button down below in the left-hand corner, and that will unmute you because your mic is currently muted. And not by, well, let's just see. I can't.
Oh, that might have worked.
There. Did you do it or did I do it?
Well, I touched it.
Okay, good. Awesome. I'm glad you did it. Very cool. Okay. Hey, Joe, how are you?
I'm very good. How are you?
I'm awesome. I'm awesome. So what part of the world are you from?
Missouri.
Nice, nice, nice. So you seem like you're outside.
Yes.
Nice. A nice Missouri night, obviously, evening, whatever. So tell me a little bit about yourself and then tell me what you'd like to be profiled on.
Well, I need to play catch up because I'm just like hopping on with your
That's okay. It doesn't really matter much. I mean, what I do is I listen to language patterns, and it takes about 10 to 30 seconds, sometimes a minute, of somebody talking, and then I can basically fill you in on most areas of your life. I might need, if you ask me something, to get it figured out in certain other areas or ways, I might ask you a couple other questions. But I don't need a ton of information. It's all based on language pattern analysis of how you speak, not what you're saying. The content of what you're saying is not totally irrelevant, but 90% irrelevant to me. And the rest of it is I just listen to how you say things and apply the mind models and then fill you in. And it's just thin slicing those gaps. If you ever have a chance to read the book Blink by Malcolm Gladwell, he talks about thin slicing and how experts can actually, from very, very little information, make high probability determinations. And that's what I've been doing for 30 plus years. So tell me about yourself.
Well, I've done hair like most of my whole life, and then I just I'm needing to find a new job, and I need to figure out a good resume. I believe you had a resume. Didn't you, or am I watching somebody else on that?
Probably somebody else. So,
okay.
So basically, doesn't require a resume to join us here. Just need to hop on.
Pull my head out, you know.
Yeah, that's okay. So one of the things, okay, let me just ask you a couple other questions. Are you single or married?
I'm single.
Yep. Okay, good. No kids or kids right now? Or kids left home?
No children there? No, huh?
No children. Okay. So what would you like to be profiled on? So business, personal, life, strengths, opportunities, gaps. What would you like to be profiled on?
I didn't really make a plan for this, so I'm not
I know. Most people don't. You just jumped on there. Your hand went up fast. So I went, okay, let's do Joe. So.
I'm not sure. I'm just really indecisive right now.
That's okay. Can I fill you in on a little bit of what seems to be going on in your life? Is
Please.
that okay? So you're going through major transition in your life, obviously. You are not used to this level of transition either, because you've had a fair amount of recently a fair amount of stability in where you've been, what you've been going through. But in the last, it's either 30 days or 60 days, relatively recently, life is changing, and not necessarily of your doing, but it is changing. So life is happening to you, and you're fighting. You don't feel like it's successful yet, but you're in the ability to start fighting back and taking charge of your life and trying to get the control back into your life that you perceived and felt and knew that you had at one point not that long ago, and to try and find that sense of normal again. And life isn't normal, so that's okay. So you're sort of stuck, but you've had a lot of stuff, a lot of life experiences that have happened to you where you have found a way to figure out problems. But this one sort of came up and bit you in the butt by surprise. And so it was a tougher one to handle than you anticipated things would be. So it's not quite a shock, but it's a surprise. And so that's okay. But yeah, you're fighting through it. You're getting through it. You're not actually looking at your strengths. You're still dealing with the overwhelm of what's happened to you. And I would really start identifying what your strengths are. And I wouldn't just say, okay, I can do hair and be a stylist and whatnot. Yeah, you can. But what other strengths do you have? You've been somebody that people would say, it's easy to listen to. You're a good listener. You are effective when you're not under stress and pressure. You're effective at helping other people get, giving them support and seeing the best in them. And unfortunately, you've dropped that skill for yourself right now, where you forgot to take a look at the best in you. But it doesn't mean that it's not there. It totally is there. You just aren't doing that. So I would really seriously find a place, sit down, write out a list of what your strengths are, and start looking at what those are and see how they impact you. And go, so what direction would I like to go in my life? Would I like to build an online business? Would I like to get a bricks and mortar job? Where would I like to live? What would I like to do? And where would I like to be? And just start answering some of those questions, because I think all of those questions are relevant to you now. And, you can start figuring that out. But the biggest one of all, I go back to, well, there's one of the mind models that I've taught a long time ago, which is confidence versus self-confidence. Confidence is is others identifying your successful use of skills, attitudes, and behaviors. So confidence is others identifying those things, and self-confidence is you self-identifying your successful use of skills, attitudes, and behaviors. You have had self-confidence in the past, but right now your whole, like you are a classic person that you had a great mindset and you were very bubbly and forward looking, and when everything was flowing with you, you had a great mindset. Life was good. But that's not you now. And life basically kicked you, and your mindset went out the window. You can't seem to get it back. And that's where mind models come in, because mind models are not this whole belief about being better and I believe in myself, I believe in myself. Well, life is telling you, I don't know if I can believe in myself, because life is happening to me. These behaviors, these externally verifiable factors are happening to me, and it's not working. But mind models work on those things because they're behavioral. And it doesn't matter what life does to you. I mean, I literally, you haven't been on before, but I've occasionally shared the fact that my dad went into a coma when I was running my own business, and it literally kicked the crap out of me. And he went into a coma for 14 years. before he passed. And so that was a big deal. I was a mindset guy for the longest time. And then I had that experience, and all of a sudden mindset gets kicked to the curb with one life experience that is a big deal, but it was a big life experience, and everything takes a dump. It just goes away. And I go, this mindset stuff sucks because it's not robust. It doesn't enable me to use it when I need it the most. It took off. It evaporated right out of my mind. And I go, that's not the deal. That's not what I was promised. Yet that's what happened. And since that happened, talking to hundreds of other entrepreneurs and people who have experienced similar things, boom, they're all experiencing exactly the same thing. So pardon me for saying this, but to me, mindset sucks. And that is not okay. Mindset is better than nothing if you've got nothing and you're working forward and life isn't throwing you any major curveballs. It's fine, sort of. But I still want mind models, because no matter what life throws at me, if I have mind models, I can change my direction. I can change my stars and make life a little more compliant to my will, so that I can start building my direction and my dream, and do it intentionally, even despite the circumstances. It's sort of like what happened with John and Dwayne tonight, and even Jamie. But John, I guess, is probably the best example of working with him and just working through that belief pattern that he had about how he thought he should behave and how he should take one thing and work it all the way through to completion and have that, but that's been holding him stuck. So now, with just questioning him like this and getting him to make one small single commitment, maybe not that small to him, but it is relatively small. It's one commitment of making a statement and filling me in tomorrow about that, attempt to jot things down and make his list or pick one of those things. I don't care what he comes up with, just that he comes up with something and he acts on it. That ability to take action is the thing that changes behavior. It is a behavior that changes beliefs. And that's the truth. I've tested this thousands of times back in the day at life skills colleges. You do a behavior and you get a result. You get out there, you put out a resume, you go out there, you find a different place where you want to be, you do it, you move, you take action, and life gets better. It's just that simple. And it is that simple because you've got to make some movement. You have to take action. You cannot stay still, and you have to take action. And if you don't, nothing changes, because you sit there and you wait for life to change. And the only thing that'll happen is two things guaranteed. You'll get older and you'll die. Those are the only two things that are absolutely guaranteed. Okay. But if you take action, anything else is possible. Everything else is possible. It takes time, but it's possible. But if you don't move, you don't take action, you just get old and you die. That's it. So that's not you. And I know that inherently. You're in a recovery phase right now, and that's okay. But you're close to the end because you're already seeking new ways of thinking, new ways of being. You wouldn't be doing this if you were at stage one of shock of what life has just thrown at you. You're already moved through that. And I don't care if it was this morning, you've already moved through it and gotten to where you are right now. And I know it wasn't this morning, but that's just for people that have had it. Boom, you move through it, and it does not take time. It takes choice. That's how come mind models are so powerful, because you find a mind model, you work that mind model, and you've made a choice, and you get a result. I don't care whether or not it changes for the better or the worse right in that moment, because if it's for the worse, it's good information because you're failing fast, falling forward. Then you get to try another mind model and do that again. And you keep on finding it till you find one that works. But confidence versus self-confidence, you've been kicked in the butt and it feels absolutely terrible, but you're pulling yourself up and you're going out there and you're going to make some changes happen in your life. And you're already doing that. So that's a big difference. So well done you. So how accurate was that? Scale of 1 to 10.
10.
Okay. What were you able to pull from that? Sorry, you happened to freeze up. I don't know. Are you still there, Joe?
Oh, yeah, we might have lost her. I think she was on a phone, so it might have. They get overheated pretty quick.
Yeah. And Joe is all red on your signal here.
Okay.
So
Let's see. Well, hopefully she can come back in, but her phone might have overheated or died.
Yeah.
Well, we got that it was a 10. We got that.
Yeah. Exactly. So that was good. Okay. So
I missed the whole webinar. I'm sorry.
no, you didn't. You were there in the background, but that's it. I had a really good webinar.
It looked like it. It looked
yeah,
like
it was fun. It was fun. I really enjoyed
just in time for when you wrapped up and
yep,
feedback from everyone.
And maybe Joe's coming back. I don't know.
Can you hear us, Joe?
Don't hear anything. Can you move her back to participant?
Yeah, I'll do that.
And then maybe she can text or something in and we could get in. But anyway, it was definitely a pleasure to have her here on the show. She's going through a lot right now, and I totally get it. Are you there, Joe?
We don't hear you.
Hey there. I can sort of hear you. Are you there, Joe? Can you hear me? Hi.
I can barely hear you.
Yeah, I can. It's a little garbled. So, Joe, just if you can hear us, we're going to put you back in participant mode and wrap up the night here. It's getting a little late. It's a couple hours in, and I don't like going too far over this point, but I thought we had a major success with the new model here. And yeah, we have real world. Hey, Joe, there you go. She's there. Great. So what worked specifically for you in this tonight? In the profiling?
You know, just tonight it was like, wow, you get up off your duff, you make a few little small decisions, and then you're on it. you get moving and you go. It's pretty simple.
It is, and it really feels almost impossible until your mind allows you to see it as that simple. And then it is that simple. It's just the way it works, because we get into locked in states because of our emotions, and our emotions and the questions we ask ourselves cause us to look at the past, and we can't change the past. And we want to get back to that feeling of certainty. And that's another mind model, clarity versus certainty. That was one that I was going to also point out to you is you are sometimes trying to go after certainty rather than clarity. And clarity is a questioning process. Certainty is a telling process. And you're telling yourself life is supposed to be this way. And life is not this way. Life happened to you and it was unexpected and it just happened. So we have to deal with it and we have to get resourceful. And if we don't ask ourselves questions, we don't get resourceful and we just are certain we got screwed. But that doesn't help us move forward. I mean, so bad things happen to good people all the time. Definitely happened to my father, happened to me multiple times in my life, a whole bunch. And I can swap horror stories with the best of them. I mean, it doesn't matter. I mean, there's lots of it. Sorry, Joe, what are you saying? Say that again, Joe. I didn't quite hear
We're
you.
not getting any audio from you, Joe.
Yeah.
He's got a carton of Marlboros for $30 half price.
Okay.
I think that where the connection's poor again, so it's not working well.
Yeah. Anyway, thanks so much for being on, Joe. Really super appreciate it. Hopefully this worked well for you. And we're going to move Joe back to attendee mode.
Okay.
And like I said, we're just going to wrap up. And I just want to thank everybody because her picture is frozen again. So no sense fighting this whole thing. She keeps popping back here. Any reason for that?
I'm not sure. I actually switched her back to attendee, but it still keeps showing her in here. So
interesting.
It's probably just because the connection's bad, so it's doing wonky stuff.
Yeah. So anyway, we'll just wrap up tonight's thing here. So guys, I hope you enjoyed it a lot. Let me know in your comments section. And everyone that is watching here, please know that the training is priceless. And I encourage you, encourage all to be encouraging to Blair and let him know that we value him. Thank you. Thank you so much, Dwayne. That's huge. Really appreciate it. And if you can, I'd love you to be able to talk to other people and invite them out to join you here with this new model here of rewiring the mind and in the Blair Dunkley experience and make this all happen. So that's really what we're going to do. We're just going to keep on transforming people's lives. And the new format was effective, as was the home viewer. I was able to play along with the Oh, nice. In the working through questions with the 3 magic words tonight. So I'm glad that, you know, the whiteboard, I'm sure that that's what you're in there is. So the whiteboard in the iPad seems to work. Is that basement still available? Sorry, no, it's not. My daughter has moved into our basement room. So, and I got her bedroom upstairs, and I'm in the home office bedroom on the second floor. So sorry, Dwayne, it's not, but hey, I'm available every Tuesday and for free. So that's not a bad deal. So anyway, guys, I'm going to wrap it up. Have yourselves a great night. Thanks so much for everything. And we look forward to doing more of this next week, next Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Invite other people along. Spread the word of mouth, please. And let's see if we can't grow and get even more people on. And I encourage all of you guys to get on and be panelists as well. So whoever shows up early, please jump on and let us know. Okay? For myself, you guys take care. And Trevor, do you want
Have a good night, guys.
Okay, you guys take care. Bye for now.